Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jason, and I am an author and a role-playing game geek. Today I want to talk to you about a class that I developed for the Pathfinder 2nd Edition. As many of you may know who know me, I am a tiny little bit of a Spider-Man fan. And although I've been role-playing since the 90s, it's always been in superhero or sci-fi gaming. Until very recently, within the last 5 years or so, I hadn't really touched fantasy role-playing games. I played D&D for a while, and now I'm really getting into Pathfinder 2nd Edition. And whenever I start a new role-playing game, whenever I'm reading the rules, I always ask myself the same question because of who I am. How can I play Spider-Man in this system? Now, there are ways you can fudge it with the existing rules as written and the existing supplements and things like that. And I know that there is in Pathfinder an ancestry that has a spider flavor to it. But it doesn't go where I want it to go. Because, first of all, Peter Parker didn't get his abilities because of an ancestry. These are powers. These are superhuman abilities beyond what you could get from a bloodline. And I wanted that kind of versatility and that kind of scope that only a class could give. So also, as I kind of started going into this, I'd actually done this once for D&D, which was an entirely different way of building a class. But when I was building it for D&D, I realized I didn't have to just do spiders. I could do all arachnids. I could do scorpions. I could do ticks. Not this guy. I could make a whole arachnid class. I called it the Arachnified, and I want to introduce you to this class today. Hey everybody, before we get started with today's video, I just wanted to let everybody know that my action fantasy with a sci-fi twist novel series, Fate of the Forged, has 2 books out so far. They are Soul Part 1 and Soul Part 2. Please check them out and support me in my future endeavors. Now I'm going to be reading this off my screen as we go, so you'll pardon me if I have to scroll in and out a little bit, but I just want to go over it piece by piece, and it's easier to do that if I'm looking at the camera and at the screen at the same time. Now, Arachnifides, I purposely left their lore vague. I wanted for you as a player to be able to pull your origin from a variety of possible sources. Did your powers come from the blessing of an arachnid-themed deity or from just any deity? Did a horrible alchemical experiment go wrong and a spider got into your alchemical mixtures and it bit you? Or did you bond with an animal spirit? There's a whole bunch of different ways it could go. However you get there, you get spider-like abilities or arachnid-like abilities, depending on which subclass you decide to take. In Arachnified, subclasses are called breeds, and there are 6 of them, and we'll discuss them in a minute. Your key ability, you can choose, depending on how you want to build your character, to have strength or dexterity be your key ability. Some arachnids are hardier than others, and some of them are more nimble. So I wanted to give you the flexibility of choice. They are, however, all a fairly hardy species, or group of species. And so they have 10 plus the Constitution modifier for hit points to start out. I felt that was fair considering how rugged these guys are. These are not a magic class. These are more toward a martial class, although I wouldn't quite call them a martial class. They might be. I don't know where the line is drawn. Like I said, I'm new to Pathfinder. But they're pretty rugged. As far as initial abilities, they start out as expert in perception, trained in fortitude and will, and expert in reflexes. They start with athletics or acrobatics, and then up to 5 plus your intelligence modifier for other skills. They are a fairly skilled class. Again, these are not casters. These are from any walk of life. So you could have been a normal person up until 2 minutes ago, and all of a sudden you've got these abilities. So I wanted to have the opportunity for you to have come from a lot of different backgrounds and have a wide range of skills that you could have drawn from before you got to this point. You're trained in simple weapons because this is a fantasy setting with lots of things that can kill you. Everybody has training in simple weapons because you need it to survive. But because of your enhancement, you are expert in unarmed attacks. You're just naturally heightened toward your unarmed abilities. This class is going to be more toward unarmed combat. You can fight with weapons, but you're better when you're unarmed. Defenses, likewise, you're trained in light armor, but you are expert in unarmored defense. You just feel more natural when you don't have armor on. And your class DC, you're trained in the Arachnified class DC. Now, let's get into some of the features. You start out with some of your basic stuff, your initial proficiencies, things like that. At a first level, you do get to take a Arachnified class feat, and then you get that every numbered level thereafter. You get your breed, and like I said, there are 6 of them. I will name them now. We will go into what they do in a little bit. But you will get an additional feat that is specific to your breed at first level. The breeds are the Bonded, which are your symbiote style characters. You have the Scorpions, which are scorpion-based. The Diggerticks, which are essentially bloodsuckers. They feed on the blood of their enemies. And then those are the 3 non-spider Arachnified classes, or subclasses. And then the other 3 breeds are spider-based. You have the Hairy Hunters, which are more your tarantula or your wolf spider, the kind of spiders that actively hunt rather than wait for things to come to them. The Widowmakers, which are your black widows, your brown recluses, your extremely poisonous spiders that send people to the hospital. And then there are the Scarlet Slingers. Scarlet Slingers are your more garden variety spiders that are extremely good with web weaving. They do whatever a spider can. Guess which one is my favorite breed? So those are the 6. I hope you're excited about learning more about them, but we'll get to those in just a moment. I do want to finish out with the remaining features for this class. At first level, you get clingy. Not that way. Please don't get clingy with me. You can cling to surfaces. Now, this has a potential to being an out of balance ability, and some people I've talked to about this prior were concerned, you're able to cling to walls at first level, you're going to be able to avoid certain traps, and that's true. But I've made it that clinging is an action. It costs you an action to cling, and it costs you an action each subsequent turn to maintain the cling. You have to use sustain an action or sustain a spell, is how it's worded in the book. You basically gain Spider Climb as a non-magical ability that you cannot cast on others. It gives you a permanent climb speed equal to your normal speed, and you can take the step action while clinging. And you also get a +2 circumstance bonus when grappling or when resisting a strength check to pull you off the wall or whatever surface you're on. Once you reach level 12, it is no longer an action. So eventually, when it gets to be higher levels and you are faced with characters who can fly and do all other kinds of things, it's no longer an action to maintain or to initiate. You can just cling. You also get Crawler. Crawler means you're basically considered to be not prone when you're in a crawling position. You're not flat-footed. You're not prone when you're crawling. You can still be knocked prone, but as long as you can get back to a crawling position by taking an action, you are effectively standing up while on all fours. I thought that was important to have someone who could fight on all fours, because this is a spider-based hero. They scurry. They move about in ways that are a little bit freaky, and we'll get to that when we get to the feats. But this ability really makes you feel like a spider. Now you also get your skill feats and your general feats and skill increases and ability boosts and all that at the appropriate levels. At 3rd level, you get Tremor Sense to a range of 20 feet. Remember, spiders have all those hairs on them that allow them to really sense their environment through touch, through motion, through vibration. And I wanted Arachnifieds to have that as well. So they have Tremor Sense to a range of 20 feet. They get their Ancestry feat at 5th level. Expert Strike at 5th level. Your proficiency with simple weapons increases to Expert, and unarmed attacks increases to Master. And your unarmed strikes now do 2d4 blunt instead of 1d4 bludgeoning. Again, these are characters that are better with their fists than they are, and their extra limbs when they get them, if they get them, than they are with weapons. They are natural fighters, so they would fight with what comes naturally to them. Exoskeleton is 7th level. Proficiency with Fortitude increases to Expert, and you become a Master with Unarmed Defense. Unarmored Defense, excuse me. So again, they have a natural ability to get out of the way or resist damage. Weapon Specialization is your normal feat for that type. Hidden Threat. Like any arachnid, you are great at fitting in places that you should not. You can fit in spaces that are one size smaller than you. Again, feeling like a spider. You can see yourself getting into those tiny little crevices. This allows you to hide with greater efficiency than another character of your size. Scurry at 9th level means you get a 10-foot bonus to your movement. And let's see. Evasion at 11th level, your reflexes become Master. Many eyes. Not literally necessarily, but you could take it literally. You have a wider range of vision. You have a wider range of vision than most people would. Your proficiency with perception increases to Master. Master Strike, this is again, at 13th level, your proficiency with simple weapons increases to Master, and with unarmed increases to Legendary, and your unarmed strikes become 3d4 bludgeoning. Greater Weapon Specialist is what you think it is. Thick Exoskeleton is what you think it is. Master Fortitude and Legendary with unarmored defense. Unyielding Tracker, you get the Hunt Prey ability that is normally reserved for Rangers. Again, this is, abilities that a spider or an arachnid would have. They are natural hunters. And then Maximum Arachnid. At 19th level, you gain the full survival instincts of an arachnid. 3 times between rests, you can treat a critically failed saving throw as a failure or a failure as a success. And those are the class features that the Arachnified comes with. Next time I record, we will start getting into the feats, but I want to, before we close out this video, go into the breeds a little bit more. Okay, breeds. So there again are 6 breeds. The first is bonded. Bonded are basically a species of ooze that have learned to bond with other organisms rather than just consume them. When you are so bonded, you cannot become unbonded unless there is a very, very good reason for it. And that would be up to the dungeon master. You gain extra limbs, tendrils, as a feat. Extra limbs has a lot of different versions of that feat, but if you're bonded, the extra limb you get are tendrils. You also get expert proficiency with those limbs. So these limbs count kind of like a weapon, but your expert proficiency when using those tendrils. Digger ticks. Digger ticks are bloodsuckers. You gain the blood drain feat at first level and are expert proficiency with that feat. Hairy hunters, as I said, are like the tarantulas of the world, and the trapdoor spiders and the wolf spiders and things like that. You gain the web walker feat at first level. You are trained in athletics. If you are already trained in this skill through another ability, you become expert instead. Scarlet Slingers are your garden variety house spider or garden spider or things like that. They are proficient. They are expert proficiency with the web slinger feat, which they gain at first level. And Scorpios, of course, scorpions. And of course, Scorpios are scorpion based. They gain the extra limbs tail feat at first level and are expert proficiency with that limb. Finally, Widowmakers. Widowmakers are your ultra poisonous spiders. You gain poison bite at first level. Your proficiency in stealth is trained. If it was already trained, it becomes expert. And that's all we're going to talk about today for the Arachnified class. I do want to point out, I don't think I pointed it out at the beginning of the video, this would be a rare class. So it would be very permissible for the DM to not allow this class, or to allow it only sparingly. Next time, we'll talk about the various feats that go into this, and we will talk about archetypes if we have time. If not, we'll do that as a separate video. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for showing me some support on my first video, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.